a converted man here. Washing feet is now so important that they've decided to put it on as a commercial during football. So wash your feet. Anyways, this video here says no evidence for God. Gainsay gains nothing. And it's by the not enough quotes in the universe. Stand to reason. Fairly, decent sized channel. I usually don't care about numbers, but in this case, it's somewhat relevant because they're responding to uh, a tweet from somebody that has like 1,173 followers. So if they're going to respond to somebody that only has like 1,000 some odd followers, well, what about me? I've got like 1,000 some odd followers. So you're, hey guys over here, I need attention. Give me attention. Anyway, so he's doing this on like some radio podcast sort of thingy, whatever. And hey, props to them. I demanded that they give me the source, and they did. I complained, I grumbled, and they complied. So hey, props for props due. Whoever did that, whoever gave me that link, good job. So there is actually a tweet. It is real. This is actually what they're really responding to. It's not a straw man. It's not cherry picked. This is really real. Ha! Yay! So it says, only atheism is rationally justifiable. There's no evidence at all for any gods, and never has been. Reason tells us they're all invented. Well, if I was going to analyze this for logical fallacies, I would say this is just a bunch of bald rationalizations. You haven't given any argumentation here. So there's no argument here. This is just a statement that this person thinks is correct, and that's it. Now, had you made some sort of argument about how atheism is rationally justifiable, that would be interesting, but you didn't. So, on a logical level, this doesn't work. And it's not really meant to be an argument as far as I can tell. It's just something somebody said. They were, it's a jaded comment, kind of a toss away, whatever. But these guys, they stand for reason with, their 101K subscribers, decided that this was worth tackling. So, yeah. So I got to respond to that video and tell them what they get wrong, if anything. Hello, my Roku. And back to the video, or on to the video, or whatever.
I want to read to you a response to that tweet. And this is Icarus62. Don't know who it is. But here is the response. Only atheism is rationally justifiable. There's no evidence at all for any gods and never has been. Reason tells us they're all invented. Now, I read this to you because this kind of, I don't even want to call it a response, this kind of reaction comes up a lot when theists make the kind of case. It wasn't just a claim that I made, it was a case. The case for a lawgiver, the case for a designer, the case for a creator. I'm making a case. It's because the nature of the thing requires something to adequately explain it.
All right, so what is he talking about? He's talking about the tweet that he made, which that tweet's a response to, and so maybe that's why he's, going on about it. Okay, so his tweet is, we're making a claim that fits our universal experience. Moral laws need a lawgiver. Ah, jeez. Faith palm already. Things coming into existence need an adequate cause. Design requires a designer. Oh, jeez. It's the atheist, then, that is making the claim that seems to fly in the face of the facts. Greg Cool. Is Greg Cool the guy that's talking here? Yes, that's his quote. So you're quoting yourself on your Twitter. Okay. I didn't know you could do that, but neat. So Deconverted Man says no to that. So you're making a claim that you think fits your universal experience. You said R, but no, it doesn't fit my universal experience. And I don't know that we have a universal experience. I think that we have a on the planet Earth experience. And even the people that have been lucky enough to go to space and go as far as the moon, that's it. That's the pinnacle of human experience thus far. Nobody has experienced the universe. I know, technical stuff here, but come on. We don't have a universal experience. We have a localized experience. But maybe you meant to say like an experience of the reality that we all share or something like that. Okay. Now, the next part there where you say nothing of substance. And what I mean by that is all you've said is essentially a tautology. This is true because it's true. A circular statement. Moral laws, that is to say, let's take out the moral part and just say laws need a lawgiver. Great. Yes, I agree. But you've now intertwined morals into that and said moral laws require a lawgiver. Well, not necessarily so, but maybe. And we'll get into that a bit more, but you really haven't told us anything that we didn't already know. As far as things coming into existence needing an adequate cause, that might be the case. But it might be that some things come into existence without any cause. That could be plausible. We don't know. And so we can't say that it's always the case that everything has a cause. At best, we could say the things that we know about seem to have a cause. And then there might be an exception in quantum physics. And I'm not super into quantum physics. I just am barely aware that there was some experiment where they put metal plates, maybe they were coated with something, I don't know, but they put them near each other and then stuff happened and they recorded it and it was really cool. And I think that was things coming into existence from nowhere. But I guess you could say the cause was the metal plates being close together, but that was just to invoke this thing happening in a way that they could get it to happen now instead of waiting it for to happen randomly or something like that. But I don't know. I could be very wrong. I don't know. So I was saying, hey, look, we put that to the plausibility that it is possible to the side, and we say, hey, look, it's possible. Maybe we're wrong about this. We don't know. What we can say is we know that most of the things seems like have some sort of cause and great. And then those things also the cause of that thing also is preceded by something else. And that seems to be our observation of our localized reality thus far. So if we wanted to extrapolate from that and apply it universally, which we shouldn't do, but if we wanted to, then we would have to apply the standard that we've observed universally. So we'd say, well, if things have a cause and those causes always have causes to them, then that just keeps going back indefinitely. And so everything has some sort of cause and there's an effect from that cause, and it just keeps doing that all the way forever. And it's lobsters all the way down. But the theist doesn't like that because the theist needs there to be a terminal end to that says, no, there's a first cause to all of that. And they just say that. They don't ever prove it, they don't demonstrate it, they just say that that must be the case. So I don't know that things coming into existence, whatever that means, needs an adequate cause, or in fact has an adequate cause in the first place. And notice that what's interesting here is coming into existence. Have we ever really observed something coming into existence? The vagueness of the language here is something that should give us pause. Let's consider something fairly mundane. A table. Okay. And for whatever reason, when I said a table, I've got a table in front of me, but it's plastic and metal, and that's a bit too complicated. I'm going to make it a simple table. I'm going to picture and envision, and hopefully you will as well, a wooden table. It's made out of nothing but wood. The carpenter, made it so that you could screw the wood in to itself and make a decent table. Okay, so you have 5 components. You have the part that's going to be the table, and then you have the 4 legs. Well, you don't have to have a table, but we're trying to get this going, so we're just going to say that that's what this particular table is like. And okay, so you need lumber, you need the wood, and you need the wood cut into certain measurements because, you want all the legs to be the same size. And then, you need some sort of tool to make the little screw things in the legs so that you can screw them into the, where the table part of your table, and then, the flat part, and then you do that, and there you go. Okay, so, but when did it begin to exist? When did it come into existence? Because when you have it there, it's just lying there on the floor. You have the thing that's going to be the tabletop, and you have your 4 legs, and it's not a table yet. You screw in one leg, still not a table. Screw in the second one, it's not a table yet. The third one, not a table. Fourth one, now it's a table. But okay, so the 4th leg, that's what made it the table then. But before that, it wasn't really a table, but also all the component parts still existed. So whence did it come into existence? If you screwed it in slightly, if you screwed the leg in slightly, would it still be a table? Or does it have to be, so there isn't really a rule here. So that's a problem. But we ignore all that. We just say, the reader will figure it out what we mean by our vague language. But I am not happy with that. I want you to tell me what you mean by begin to exist and how that works. Now, I know that I once was a bunch of cells, and that before that, I was separate cells in different bodies. And before that, I was atoms and molecules. So I've, in a sense, always existed, but not in the shape and format that I am now. So did I ever actually begin to exist? And when did that occur? Is it when the atoms and molecules first popped into being thanks to stars exploding? Is it when the elements that make up all of us came into being? Is that the moment? Or is it the moment of conception, or when I'm born? Or I don't know. I have no idea. And so if I was going to say begin to exist, I would explain to my readers what exactly it is that I'm trying to convey to you, because I don't want to assume that you know what I mean by this? It is vague language. It's almost poetic language. And you go, well, okay, but you're being technical. Yes, I'm being very technical because you could be simple. You could say, look, it's like a chicken laying an egg. Okay, you've got the chicken, you've got the egg. Which came first? Well, the rooster. But jokes aside, what came first is, the dinosaurs. They eventually became the chicken. But okay, but forget about that. Let's just talk about the chicken and the egg. Okay, the chicken lays the egg, and so the cause of the egg is the chicken, right? I guess, but well, if it's not fertilized, then okay. But still, but there was many other multiple causes as well. So we haven't really fleshed out what you mean by begin to exist, because the egg was inside of the chicken before it pushed it out. So whence did it begin to exist? So maybe you want to say, look, let's get away from the language that is ambiguous and say, okay, once the egg is outside of the chicken, then there you go. That's the start of that egg. Until it is outside of the chicken, it is not yet come into existence, right? Now you've got a clear analogy of sorts. You've got a clear idea of what you're talking about. But then, of course, because it's an analogy, it's still imperfect. And, well, it's better to use very technical language and say, well, this is what we mean. It is when you run a computer program, it reads the first line, and then it reads the next line, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it begins at the start. Okay, it begins at line 1. Okay, now it's a little bit more clear. Before line 1, well, there's a cause of the computer reading line 1. It's me running the program. But there's a cause to that my finger had to push the key to run the program, and the compiler also had to do stuff, and the computer had to do stuff. So there's more than one cause. There's actually multiple causes. And so, well, we don't want that, because we're really focused on eventually getting to a singular cause, because we know what the conclusion is. We know that the conclusion is God. So we're going to have to work backwards from that somehow. But we can't do it if we use precise language. We can only do it with imprecise language. Design requires a designer. You're not telling us anything new. And then you're saying the atheist is making the claim that seems to fly in the face of facts. What claim is the atheist making? Because you are assuming and asserting that atheists make a claim. About what precisely? What is it that you think that the atheist is claiming? Do you think that perhaps the atheist is claiming there's no God? Or is the atheist claiming that they don't believe in God? Or is it really just that the atheist is saying that your God doesn't exist, but they're open to other gods? So we don't know what you think the atheist's claim is. So why not say what you think that the claim is that's being made? But what facts are you referring to? Okay, you're making a claim that you think fits our shared reality. You say a statement that doesn't tell us anything, a tautology, moral laws need a lawgiver. Okay, that's humans. Things come into existence, they need an adequate cause. Well, we don't know that that's for sure universally, but we know it for a localized existence to some extent. but those it might be more than one cause. So you should put causes, and there's some nuance missing there. Then you say another tautology that doesn't tell us anything. Design requires a designer. Okay, again, that's humans. So what is it exactly that you are saying that is facts? That let us draw out what the bleep you're even talking about. There's nothing you have said is anything amazing, special, or even an argument about God if that's what you're trying to do. And then to somehow pretend that all of this is your facts that somehow point to God, and then say, well, it's the atheist that's making some claim that I'm not even going to tell you what that claim is, and their claim is not one that's reasonable. But that doesn't make it untrue. See, unreasonable or reasonable doesn't make anything true or false. It might seem extraordinarily unreasonable, but that doesn't matter. Reasonable is somewhat subjective too. What you want to say is real or true. But there isn't really a claim being made by the atheist, and that's the problem. But I'll go ahead, I'll be your steel man atheist that you can actually go after here, guys. Stand to reason. I don't know what your God is. I'm going to guess it's Yahweh. I'm going to guess it's the Judeo-Christian God. I'm going to see if I'm right, or if you tell us in your little things. Let's see. Yeah, Christians. Okay, so yeah, you're Christian. Okay, so the Judeo-Christian God. Now, I don't know if you're Protestant or Catholic, because I think that there is enough difference there to make those into different gods. That the Yahweh of the Catholics is very different than the Yahweh of non-Catholics. Because their Yahweh is fine with you praying to things that aren't Yahweh. Whereas the non-Catholics, the Protestants, do think, broadly speaking, that God would have a problem with you praying to things that aren't God. So that's a difference in gods. The Catholics have a version of God that the Protestants don't have, broadly speaking. It's a big difference. And it is a difference. And you can't just hand wave it, but that doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It does matter. Because it's a difference. Okay, so your version of God. Now, I don't know your version of Christianity, so that's another problem. And you don't say. You don't say if you're Baptist or Church of Christ or whatever. So I don't know. But I would say that if you are a Christian that thinks that there is a heaven and or a hell, then I would put it to you that your God is logically impossible. That is to say that your God is purported to be a logical being. A perfectly logical being. So this only applies if the Christian thinks that God is a perfectly logical being. If the Christian doesn't believe that God is a perfectly logical being, then God is an imperfect, non-logical being, or imperfect logical being. So it's kind of like us. Or it's a perfect being, but it's not necessarily logical, which I don't know why it wouldn't be logical, but okay. If it's not logical or it's not perfectly logical, by the way, I can't trust your God. So that's a problem. Just like humans. We can't necessarily trust humans. Sometimes we do trust humans anyways, but humans can be wrong and we can make mistakes and we can be flawed in our logic. And that's fair, and we forgive each other for that because we're only human. But God is supposed to be better than all that. So, if you are a Christian that thinks God is a logically perfect being, then God can never, ever, ever perform a logical fallacy. Yet, the Judeo-Christian God, Yahweh, performs at least one, if not two, logical fallacies. In that, if you believe in hell, it's an ad ballum, an appeal to a threat, an appeal to also fear, but we'll stick with threat for now. If you don't believe in hell, but you do believe in heaven, he's appealing to a bribe. That's it. Therefore, because it's doing logical fallacies, and it must be a perfect being in order for it to exist, then it cannot exist. The end. Yahweh is gone. There is no Yahweh if the conditions are agreed to that Yahweh has to be perfectly logical. Your move. See, I have negated Yahweh's existence. Other gods, I don't know. Don't know about those gods. Depends on what those gods are and how they work. I have no idea. I would need the arguments for those gods. But I have made a statement about the nature of particular versions of a particular god that negates it in full. That's my argumentation. Anyways, so to that tweet that you put out, Icarus said, no, atheism is rationally justifiable. Well, I don't know that that makes sense because it depends what you mean by that. If you're just saying that non-belief in God is justifiable, yes. But belief in God also is justifiable in a sense because we are pattern-seeking creatures, and so it is reasonable that some humans, and in fact a lot of humans, would follow those patterns to a thing that is similar to humans but abstracted from humans that they call God. There's a rational process there to get to it. But by rational, we mean through reason of logic, science, mathematics, something like that. Okay. As far as there's no evidence for any gods, well, that's a pretty broad statement to make. Don't know about any gods. I only know about the gods that I know about, but it appears that all gods are made by humans, and that seems to be the case. Every god that comes along starts out with one or more people in a localized region of the world proclaiming to have some sort of interaction with, revelation from, or being God. And then other people believe that. And then the stories mutate and evolve and spread. And that's how pretty much every single religion works. And the Judeo-Christian God is no different in that respect. So it does appear that at the very least, the Judeo-Christian God, if it's real, is mimicking all the other made-up gods of the world. That's kind of weird. So then to say that reason tells us that they're invented, I would say instead that that there's a reasonable assumption that one can make to extrapolate that the gods have been invented by humans, given that many gods humans don't believe in anymore. And we kind of view them as invented. The pantheon of the Greek and Roman gods, they're all invented. And nobody seems to be that upset or bothered by that. It's only when you talk about their God that they get upset. So that could have been that's a very rational response to both of these tweets as far as I can tell. And if I'm wrong, let me know. We're here to talk in response to the video. So back to the video.
And in reaction, not response, a response responds to the points. This reaction is just gainsaying. What's gainsaying? Gainsaying is saying, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Well,
That's not what gainsaying is. See what I did there? Gainsay is to deny or contradict a fact or a statement, speak against or oppose someone. That there you go. It's just that's pretty much it. Okay.
it seems to me you got to do better than just saying, no, it ain't, than gainsaying it in order to.
And I agree. You should do better than just saying no, it isn't. But you guys should do better than just saying yes, it is. And all I see from your post is yes, it is. I didn't see any argument laid out in that tweet there. So what do we call them now that the dang thing is named X anyways? X's? Musk is a nitwit. Anyways,
to address a case that's been made. But
but you didn't make any case though. That's the thing. His response is equal to yours. Neither one of you made any case at all. You said stuff that doesn't really matter and doesn't lead to anything, and he responded in kind. You've both failed. No winners here at all.
happens all the time.
Well,
Only
does it
atheism
though?
is rationally justifiable. Okay, wait a minute. I just made the point, three of them, to show that the atheist is making a claim that seems to fly into the face of the facts.
All right, here we go. What facts is he talking about? Remember, we've already looked at his tweet, so we already know what non-facts he's referencing. But notice how they'll all change here.
And he says, no, it ain't. Your view is not justifiable at all, and atheism is the only justifiable one. All right, show me why the things I said don't follow, and explain how atheism follows being justifiable.
Well, no, and it's not his burden to show how your things don't follow. It's yours to show that they are a thing in the first place, which your tweet doesn't do. You just say these things and you don't show them. You just assert them. And you're not saying anything of any substance either. Nothing in your tweet is even close to an actual argument, even for God. You're saying moral laws need a moral lawgiver. Okay, sure, that's humans. We are agents that made up morals. Okay, that's humans. Uh, Again, with the coming into existence needing an adequate cause, perhaps, and it seems so locally, and but also it's multiple causes in many cases. So what? You haven't said anything there. Design requires a designer. Okay, that's humans again. So there's nothing here that suggests God even a little. So you haven't made any substantive claim regarding God. Not even a little. So, yeah.
Rationally from the existence of transcendent moral laws as.
Now, hold on there. Transcendent moral laws. That's not what you said on your Twitter. You never said transcendent moral laws. You said moral laws, which is different and separate from transcendent moral laws. Because had you said transcendent moral laws, then you could have followed with need a transcendent moral lawgiver. And that wouldn't have told us anything, and it wouldn't have showed us that it was true. It would simply be kind of a tautology, and I'd be like, okay, that's nice. Now show me that there are transcendent moral laws and that there's a transcendent anything in the first place.
As witnessed to by the problem of evil, the origin of the universe, and the apparent very intricate design of the universe.
Okay, so the problem of evil, that's kind of a thing that negates a loving God, but it doesn't. I don't know how you think that that shows that there's a transcendent moral thing. I don't know, and you didn't say anything about it in your tweet. So what the hell are you talking about here? You didn't say anything at all in your original tweet about anything that you're saying, even a little. You didn't say transcendent laws, moral laws. You didn't mention the problem of evil, and we know that. So all of this is being added after the fact, post hoc. I think it's post hoc, yeah?
Show me why atheism is a better explanation and therefore rationally justified.
All right, and here's another thing that they do. Better, best explanation. Look, that whole gradient isn't a thing, okay? The explanation of what precisely? What is it that you want an explanation for? You want an explanation for the things that you have claimed are true? That has to come from you. You have to demonstrate that those things are actually true. It's not our burden to do that, it's yours. Once you've done that, then it's a different story. You haven't done that, so we've got nothing to talk about there. If you're looking to the atheist to explain to you cosmology, unless they're a cosmologist, I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. And even if they are a cosmologist, well, there isn't a consensus in cosmology regarding the origin / non-origin of the universe. We don't know. So we don't know what the explanation is. And that's it. So there isn't something to be explained yet. But one day, hopefully, we'll have an explanation if we survive long enough to come up with it. But maybe not. Maybe it will always be a mystery. But we don't have to have an explanation for the origin of the universe to say that there's no God. All we need to say that there is no God is the apparent lack of any reason to think that there is a God. And we can reference the fact that, one, all the gods appear to be manufactured in a very similar methodology. That is to say, every god that has come about has done so through humans. One or more people claiming to have talked to God, claiming they are God or part of God or something of that nature, and other humans believing those humans, and then the word of mouth spreading from there. At no point that I'm aware of has anything that is not something that humans could do been done. That is to say, a God has not revealed itself to all of humanity simultaneously in every language in a way that nobody could be mistaken about what was going on. We have the technology to do that. broadly speaking, although not everybody has radios and televisions and phones or whatever. But God could find a way to reveal itself to all humanity all at the same time and leave nobody in doubt. But it hasn't done so. The only way that God has ever shown up appears to be the same way that God has always shown up. And in every other case, except for your God that you believe in, you're fine, I would presume, happy to say that those gods are made up, fake gods, false gods, not real gods, but that your God is is the real one. Yeah, so lucky. Yeah, I got really lucky. I found the actual God. Lucky me. But your God seems to appear very much the same as every other human made God. Then we can point to the fact that when called upon, various gods have failed utterly to do anything that is not in the realm of human ability. Over and over again, gods have failed to regrow human limbs, or heal scars, or regenerate teeth. These are things that gods seem unable and or unwilling to do. No matter how much you pray, no matter how much you beg, no matter what you offer to it, it won't do it. We could have a very simple experiment where we put a very heavy metal ball inside of a glass container, very thick glass. And it's bolted to the floor, and the thing's on the floor, and maybe make it a box, make it a cube, a very solid metal cube. And every religion in the world start praying that thing moves into the air, not just across the floor, because that could be an earthquake. I want to see it go into the air, and I want to see it hover for at least half a minute. It won't happen. No matter what, no matter how many people pray, it will not happen. God apparently is disinterested in responding to that sort of prayer. We don't even need to do the test because we all kind of just know that it would fail. God wouldn't do that. And you can come up with all sorts of reasons why God wouldn't do that, but my explanation is because God isn't there to do it. Or it doesn't care, doesn't want to, or doesn't have the power. In any case, it is identical to nature. We have never been able to test a supernaturalistic event. Every time that anyone claims that there is some supernatural thing that's happened, it has always turned out to be mundane, or it has been something that has been locked behind bars, sealed behind walls, doors, etc., so that nobody can access it to test it ever. It is not allowed. You are not allowed to take the statue, the Fatima statue that supposedly survived an explosion. You're not allowed to take that statue and try to explode it. They wouldn't let you do it. Pretty sure it will explode this time, even if it survived the first time, because I'm going to do more explosives. But they won't let me test it. Why? Well, because then the magic would be gone, because we know it would fail the test. So God seems to be identical with the natural world. It will not, does not ever provide us with a repeatable test that we can perform to demonstrate God's existence. So, those things lend credence to the idea that there isn't a God. And what's more, I could point to the fact that every time that humans have thought that things required a supernatural explanation, we've been wrong. Rainbows, lightning, thunder, St. Elmo's fire, diseases. Every time we thought it was God or spirits or demons or devils or angels or whatever, we have been wrong. Why do you think we would be right this time? God is localized to the past, broadly speaking. It doesn't interact in any way, shape, or form that cannot be easily explained by mundane, everyday phenomenon that is completely and wholly natural in origin and nature. There is no evidence of any activity regarding God, as far as I know. And the apologists have never, as far as I know, offered anything to prove that statement wrong. So when someone says there isn't evidence of God, that's probably what they mean by that.
Justifiable. You said more than that, Icarus. You said only atheism is rationally justifiable. See, I address this in Street Smarts in the chapter on atheism because this is an end around. This is what atheists will say: there is no evidence. Well, wait a minute. I just gave you three types of evidence. There's a difference between offering evidence that is not adequate to the task and offering no evidence at all.
Well, if you're referring to the tweet, you gave zero evidence. If you're referring to something that you wrote in the book, I have no idea what you wrote in the book. But if you think you have evidence, then bleep and show us the bleeping evidence. But all you're doing is saying stuff. That's not evidence. You're just saying stuff. Of course, I guess it depends what you mean by evidence. By evidence, you mean bad arguments. Then in that case, yeah, you're giving us plenty of evidence being bad arguments. But if you mean evidence as in empirical evidence, repeatable tests, then no, you're not giving us that at all, not even a little. So we're still waiting.
But I offered some evidence. And actually, it's not bad. Many
No, you didn't offer any evidence at all. And as for it being good or bad, uh, well, if it's evidence, then it's evidence. It's neither good nor bad. It's just what is demonstratable. But you didn't demonstrate anything, not even a little.
many people have found this compelling. Smart people. Many people have found this compelling. Smart people.
Completely and wholly irrelevant, even if true. Doesn't matter how many people have found it to be compelling, nor does it matter how intelligent those people might be. That doesn't make the damn thing true. That's not how we determine if something is true. It is not a consensus. It is not by whoever is the most smart person wins the truth. That is not how we determine what the truth is. Also, if we're going to bring in smart people, most scientists don't believe in God. Many scientists, I know there's some that do, but many scientists don't. So, are we going to have an intelligence off? Like, let's compare the Christian IQ average with the atheist IQ average and see who wins that battle. Who wants to set up that test? Who wants to set up, you know, that we can all take an IQ test and it'll be judged, da 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 da. Oh, you guys have got a lot of money to throw around. You want to do it and see who's smarter? If the atheists turn out to be broadly speaking, smarter than the Christians, then do we win? Is that how it works now? If we find more atheists than you can find Christians, does that mean we win? Is that how this works now? In fact, we don't need to find atheists because we know that we can get people that don't believe in your God. They don't have to be atheists, they just have to not believe in your version of God. We win that battle because only about 33% of the world, give or take, believes in your version of God. Probably far less than that. So it's already been decided by the majority of the world that your God isn't the actual God. Muslims are, by the way, in the lead of that battle. And I'm sure there's plenty of smart Muslims. So that must be that Allah is true then, if we're going by that nonsense.
All right. So it seems, at bare minimum, to a fair-minded person, that this is at least a case, which is what I said. But this atheist simply says only atheism is rationally justifiable. Can you tell me why that's the case?
Well, did you ask him that, or are you just asking that now? Are you talking to him? Why not invite him or her or whatever onto your show to talk to? Now, I put in your comments, hey, I'm a skeptic. I'm an atheist. You know, in fact, I put a lot of stuff. See, here's my thing. Look at all the stuff I put. I marked it too for timestamps. 218. There's no proof of such moral laws. We don't know about the origin of the universe, appearance of design is not evidence of design, and I see no apparent design in the universe. Also, switching the burden of proof to the atheist, and also asking very loaded questions. 308. You didn't offer evidence. You offered arguments. They're not shown to be true, and you have one or more logical fallacies in them due to that. At 318, does not matter if finds it compelling or if lots of people do or if smart people do. That doesn't make something true. More bad logic. Also, it's odd you don't show the tweet, which they finally did. Here's the original tweet, and I complained about it, and then they gave me the actual tweet. And so, hey, thanks by the way for the tweet link. All right. And I also put an argumentation as well. And maybe I didn't offer that they could talk to me. Hey, let me talk to you live. Yes? Anyways, all right. So there you go. So now they have that, and they have an actual live atheist that they could talk to and interact with. Why not respond to that guy on Twitter? I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, so this is weird. Back to the thing.
There's no evidence at all for any gods. This is the second statement. Well,
any gods that he's aware of, perhaps.
First, show me why atheism itself is even rationally justifiable, first of all, which you have.
Okay, well, there depends what we mean. There's two versions of atheism, as we all know, weak and strong atheism. Okay, strong atheism, there's no God. I already went through all that. I already went through several different reasons why we should suspect that there isn't a God. The weak atheism, shouldn't say weaker, it's just called weak atheism, is I don't believe in God. It's different than saying there is no God. There might be a machine that can show that I do in fact believe in God. If you have access to that sort of machine, then fine, I'll do that. But other than that, I can't really show you what I believe or don't believe. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. You can decide not to believe me if you want, I guess. I don't know why you would, but yeah, I can't really demonstrably demonstrate what I believe or don't believe without some sort of insane machinery or test or something of that nature, and I don't have access to that. But hey, if you want to set that up, I'm game.
Done. And then you have to say only atheism is rationally justifiable, and then you have to show that the evidence they offer doesn't even qualify for evidence of it.
Oh, I already talked about your statements not being evidence at all. They are tautologies. That's not evidence. A rock is a rock. Well, duh. Well, but I didn't tell you anything new. I didn't tell you any information. Um, rocks require a rocker. That doesn't really make sense, does it? Reality requires a realtor. Go ahead and use that one. I love it. But these are just statements that are not shown to be anything more than just statements. They're not shown to be true. If you're saying that the morals that humans have to come from God, you're going to have to demonstrate that to be true. In regards to morals, we have more than an adequate explanation in biological evolution and the fact that humans are cooperative creatures, broadly speaking. We are creatures that thrive on community, and so it makes sense that the rules that we would construct would evolve with us through time, and they have. And we fight amongst each other all the time. And we're getting really, really good at that. Real good. And we fight because we can't always seem to figure out how to use reason and logic to come to some sort of mutually agreed upon settlement where we don't have to fight over it. If morals were some sort of universal thing, then humans wouldn't be fighting with each other like this, would they? But if they're not a universal thing and people can see things in different ways, then it makes sense that morality is due to the evolutionary process that brought us about, but in this case, applied to the way that we think and behave. Morals have evolved with us, alongside of us, because we made them for us. So humans made morals. We don't need God to explain it. That doesn't mean there isn't a God. It just means we don't need the explanation of God anymore. And perhaps we never did.
Of any kind. And then the final statement, reason tells us they're all invented. Tell me what it is about the nature of reason, about the laws of reason or rationality, or the practice of rational disputation, of working something out based on reason, how that tells us that every God is an invented God.
Whew, that's a lot to ask him to do. Are you really actually asking him to justify being reasonable to you? I don't think you are. Maybe you are. If you are, then whew, okay. Um, I already covered it all. I already said, that God, um, your God, and all gods that I'm aware of, follow certain patterns. It arrives at a certain location on the planet at a certain time to certain people, either one person or a group of people. Usually one person, and then it spreads from there, but sometimes a group of people. And that person either claims that God has spoken to them, or they've spoken to God, or that they are God, or they've been sent by God, or they're a prophet of God, or something of this nature. And then some other schmuck believes that that's true. And there you go. We know that. We look at Mormonism, we saw that happen with Mormonism. Look at Scientology, which was completely invented to be a religion, and it was successful. A guy made up a story, and people believed it. And that's it. That's all it takes to get rolling. And your God shows up in a very small spot on the world, localized phenomenon to Abraham. You can't go before Abraham because none of those people can be shown to be anything at all. Abraham's the best you're going to do there. Yahweh, we know who Yahweh is. He was a mountain god, and he had a wife, and he was a statue. He was an idol. That's where he started out. He evolved and changed throughout time. You forgot about God's wife. That was ignored because Abraham had no need of that. Abraham wanted a war god, perhaps because he wanted his people to go to war to get some land for themselves and, to expand territory. And a good way to get people on board is to say that this god of war is theirs. Make me your God. That's what Abraham claims that Yahweh tells him. But it is just that, a claim from a singular person. And then some schmuck believes that person. And other people also believe. And then the stories about and regarding that God change over time. And we know that's true because Yahweh stopped being an idol and stopped having a wife and became something very different than a mountain war god or volcano god. Yahweh was in a pantheism of other gods, but became slowly through time a singular god, and the other gods faded away in the monotheism that was eventually created and by the Jewish people. Christians came along. Well, they weren't Christians yet, but somebody came along, perhaps Paul, and said, I don't like this. I'm going to make up new shit. And he did. He made up a new story and said, hey, yeah, I've talked to God. I've seen God. God spoke to me. Here's how that works. Or you have Jesus that said, I am God. Follow me. I'll tell you all about God. The world's going to end, by the way, any moment now. Follow me. I'm basically God. He dies. They're really upset about that, so they pretend he's not dead. And then people believe them, and the stories change and evolve through time. That's it. That's how it is. It's not real. It's not true that there's an actual God. And if there is, then for whatever weird reason, it's playing a really good game of hide and seek where it seems like it's made in the same way that other gods that are made up are also made. Why would that be? Because God wants us to believe in it through some convoluted way. Weird. Why does God need our belief anyways? Rather than, I don't know, our friendship. Why does even God need anything at all? I thought God doesn't need stuff. But no, God needs you to believe in it or it stops existing. Yeah. If you don't believe in God, it doesn't exist anymore, effectively. Because believing or not believing in God, your life is still going to be your life. And you may gain or lose benefits from believing or not believing, but your life's still going to be your life. And things are still going to happen, good and bad and everything else. And you have really little to no control over a lot of it. Maybe God's there in our heads to make us believe that we have some sort of control over things. Maybe that's what God is. God is our way to pretend that things will turn out for the best, even though we have no reason to really think so. That good enough for you there? All right, I'm done with you. So stand to reason, not enough quotes in the universe to put around your channel name. I'm Deconverted Man. I'm a skeptic and an atheist, and I declare that Yahweh doesn't exist. You want to talk to me on your show live? I'm happy to do so. But I guarantee you probably won't, because it's so much easier to respond to a single tweet than it is to talk to somebody that can actually respond to your nonsense. We don't have any logical argument here. We have zero empirical evidence and no repeatable tests, and therefore we must be skeptical of his conclusion.